All right, everybody. Just before we get into the podcast today, I want to, say thank you to this month's sponsor, and I'm really excited this month. This sponsor, I've been using their product since I was in high school, which Fish Likes to Remind Me was a really long time ago. And so this month's sponsor is Sculpey, and they have sent us a bunch of stuff to give away at our drawing events, both here and in Texas, because now we have drawing events in Texas. So if you're in the San Angelo area, go check that out. If you're not familiar, Sculpey is an oven-baked clay, is an amazing crafting medium that has been around for over 50 years, like I said, back when I was in high school. Sculpey offers a wide selection of oven-baked clay brands for all different crafting levels, from kids just starting out their creative journey to people looking to make jewelry and DIY home decor to talented sculptors selling their art. There's a Sculpey clay for everyone. Sculpey clay is easy to use and stays soft until you bake it in your home oven at a low temperature of 275 degrees Fahrenheit, which is lower than baking cookies. Now I want cookies. You can check out Sculpey Clay and a wide selection of their innovative tools at www.sculpey.com. For a limited time, they've actually given us a coupon code for us here at Inebri-art. So if you're listening now, you can go to sculpey.com for 25% off your entire order. So you just go over to www.sculpey, that's SCULPEY.com, and enter the promo code PFNS25, and you'll get 25% off your entire order. So let's get into the podcast. All right, welcome back, Inebri-ites. This is Andy, the Inebri-art podcast, and we are here at the Mayflower Brewery, yet again, recording another podcast, and we brought in our good buddy, Ray.
Hey, Ray Currier.
Yeah. It would be nice if I put someone's last name in. At least I got his first name right. That's usually unusual for me. Usually I stare blankly at the person, go, their name is, shit. To talk music again. We've kind of... We went through a stretch where we had like a lot of musicians, and then I feel like we kind of intentionally went in the other direction. And now we're trying to get more musicians back in. But you are a composer.
Mm-hmm.
So at what age did you get involved in music for the first time?
By choice or by forced parentage?
Either way.
Either way.
Forced parentage is still getting involved.
Yeah, I think it was probably third grade.
Was this like piano lessons?
This was choose an instrument for school and piano lessons.
Oh, okay.
And so I
What instrument did you choose?
Drums, and was forbidden to take them.
I feel like every kid's like, I want to play drums. They're like, fuck you, pick again.
Yeah, pretty much. And there was some excuse about children's developing bones at the time, and it's like, you just don't want it around the house. I know that.
Yeah. Now as an adult, you're like, they were just bullshitting.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And so there was the mandatory piano lessons, and then the not practicing for years, and that kind of thing.
So you chose drums. You were told no, but what did you end up with?
I ended up with trumpet, and I was absolutely atrocious at trumpet. And
but you just want to start?
I was for years.
Yeah.
Carried it through all the way through high school until somebody introduced me to a low brass mouthpiece.
Okay.
And as the mouthpiece got larger, I got better, way better. I eventually went through baritone horn and ended up on tuba.
LBK.
And I love the tuba.
Yeah.
LBK.
Lower brass kicks ass.
Oh, not in my vocabulary, unfortunately.
That was our...
probably past my time.
That was our thing in not junior high, in high school. And because of the part I played, I sat with the lower brass. No, I was woodwind.
Oh.
So
you played bass clarinet?
I did play bass clarinet.
Cool.
So this guy knows his stuff.
I like bass clarinet.
That is the extent of my knowledge. I actually started off in clarinet, and I was okay, but not like great. And they moved me to lower brass, to bass clarinet, and I sat with the lower brass guys, and it was just more fun back there.
Lower brass is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
They're the goofs in the band.
Oh, totally.
Usually,
I sat literally in between two twin brothers who would try to beat the shit out of each other during the concert.
Nice.
Who, oddly enough, I ran into one of them maybe 2 months ago. We were at the Craft Beer Cellar on Main Street in Plymouth. Go there, check it out. And we were talking to a beer rep, and he gives me his card, and I look at his card, and I look at him, and I'm like, "You're a twin." And he's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "You used to play tuba." And he's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "I sat between you."
Cool.
Yeah. So you started on trumpet. You went to lower brass and tuba.
Lower brass and tuba. And
was this like a concert band? Did you have to do marching band?
Concert band. We didn't have a marching band. We had a pep band, so we didn't have to go out and do the dancing thing. Yeah, we sat in the stands and froze our butts off like everybody else. And
playing tequila and
Wipeout. Yeah, those were actually. We're going back a little further than that for me.
Okay.
So it was hits from the '60s and Broadway shows from the late '60s and early '70s.
Oh, okay.
For me.
But those were I enjoyed those parts of it. Like to me, that was more of a social. Like football games were more social. I hated marching band. Hated marching band. At what point did you like you said you were kind of forced to start? Like when did you enjoy it?
College.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was never something that I wanted to do in. Should I start tapping now?
No, that's fine.
As he gestures at tapping the microphone. Yeah. The high school was never really engaged, and I didn't.
What did you go to college for?
Which version of college?
Well, I was just curious because you're like, that's when I got. I really started to like it. So I don't think you went.
No, I started out in engineering. I was a computer and electrical double.
Yeah.
And after 2 years and a 9-month internship with IBM, music courses started taking over my schedule, and I kind of noticed a pattern. And went, okay, computers are big, silly toys. They're just fine, but I'd rather be doing music. And so I ditched music engineering for music and made my folks real proud.
Well, they started it.
I could blame them, couldn't I? Yes.
Yeah.
But I ended up at Berkeley in Boston and graduated there, and then bounced out to the West Coast for grad school, which was a horrendous failure. But during college, I picked, obviously I picked up, and I needed an instrument. I didn't own any of the instruments I had in high school, and at the time really couldn't afford, to buy a tuba.
Right.
And so keys was it, because they provided pianos.
Yeah. And so composing, so when you compose like a whole symphony, like what's the difference between writing a song and composing a song?
I had a funny feeling you were going to ask that.
Okay.
I actually listened to the podcast with the young ladies from Brockton.
Okay, yeah.
A couple nights ago.
Evolix.
Yes, Evolix. And they were talking about songwriting, and songwriting is a completely different skill set.
Okay.
It's just totally different. I
can
don't
see it being
do
really
lyrics.
different, but I
don't do lyrics at all.
Yeah.
And actually, vocal music annoys me. Unless it's in a language I don't understand. I find my brain just focuses on processing the words to the exclusion of actually enjoying what I'm listening to.
Okay.
Or even engaging with what I'm listening to. I'm so busy trying to put the words together. And I tend not to listen to vocal music. I don't write vocal music at all. Mm-hmm. And I might consider if somebody had an original poem or something they wanted to set and do it as a poetry thing, possibly.
Yeah.
But an actual song. And the songwriting thing is really a different mindset. To me, I'm worried about the multiple textures going on, whereas a songwriter is conveying the song message through lyrics, and then everything kind of wraps around that as a casing.
Yeah.
As opposed to, I don't have that core that I'm wrapping a casing around. The casing is the core as well as everything else.
Now that I'm kind of thinking about it, I feel like a song that would have vocal lyrics, you try to get it so that it is catchy and memorable, and people can sing along to it. Where I don't feel like that would necessarily be something when you're composing a symphonic type piece.
Well, you do. I mean, if you think of Beethoven's Ninth. That's the fifth.
Okay.
The ninth
Beethoven, right?
the big choral section at the end, or the fifth. Da, 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 da,
yeah.
That has a melodic phrase that you remember,
right? And
everybody remembers. And I think you'll find if you do something like Google what is it where people just show up with instruments and play in public?
Flash mob.
Flash mobs.
Yeah.
I think if you Google those and check them out, you'll find you actually will be singing along or humming along with whatever the main melodic phrase is, because those are very well-known pieces that have sort of been ingrained in people's heads for years, whether they know it or not.
Right.
Kind of like, the Whitney Houston thing.
Well, I mean,
Bodyguard.
when you mentioned Beethoven's Fifth, it's like I don't know why I thought of this. I thought of, and this is going to so date me, there used to be an industry where people would sell cassette tapes with pre-recorded answering machine messages, and one was, "Nobody's home, nobody's home." And then you would buy it and put it on your answering machine, and for our young listeners, go fuck yourself.
Wow, it's way easier now, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then you just pull up a ringtone and
it's automatic. Like, you don't have to do it. It's just there for you. You've reached blah 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 blah.
I didn't know you could buy pre-recorded answering machine tapes.
It was like an infomercial. Like, you could call an 800 number,
as seen on TV.
Yeah. Well, this was before it was just on TV. They weren't, sold it anywhere else. Yeah, it was. That's the one that I remember. It's "Nobody's home, nobody's home."
Now those little bits and fragments that you focus on are kind of the meat that somebody will build a larger orchestral piece on. And there's a lot of drifting between and through and what have you. But you kind of always come back to a couple core elements or motifs. And movie composers that's their trade. They're identifying this bit of music with Darth Vader,
right? And
this is the Imperial Stormtrooper song, and yada yada yada. And so,
if you really pay attention, you can pick up this definitely sounds like this kind of person's music. I feel like especially movie composers, have real distinct styles. Yes,
very very distinct.
Have you written soundtrack type stuff?
I have done one soundtrack, and it was this bizarre electronic harmonica piece. One of the few that I actually play. I don't play
harmonica.
An electronic background in harmonica over the top through a lot of signal processing.
Yeah,
and it was picked up by a couple friends of mine who do avant-garde film in Toronto.
Oh, nice.
And they decided to use it as the backdrop for one of their shorts.
Oh, cool.
Which was pretty cool. I think it actually showed in the Toronto Film Festival at one cinema, I believe.
Yeah. When you write, do you write for something? Do you write with something in mind? How do you even begin the process of writing for multiple instruments?
It depends.
Yeah.
And it varies for me. It may be different. Your mileage may vary. I think every composer or songwriter has their own specific approach to it. Mine varies. At some point, I'll be bouncing around the house, and I might hear something on the radio that kicks off something in my head, and start going, and all of a sudden there's a bass line going, and there's rhythm going with it, and then something goes through my head that says melody. And at that point, you've got kind of half the structure there, and then the rest of it's orchestrating and deciding what you're going to do with, fleshing it out using instrumentation and dynamics and everything else. That's one way it works for me. And I typically will write from the rhythm section out. So you get the bass and drum groove.
I was going to say, what would be the rhythm section?
Yeah, the bass, drum, guitar, and keyboards set up.
Yeah.
Specifically for me, the bass and drums kind of drive a lot of the groove-oriented stuff. And then there are times when usually I'll be in kind of a half sleep.
Yeah.
You're just waking up or just falling asleep, and it's just there.
Mm-hmm.
All of it, fully orchestrated, top to bottom. It could be a big band, it could be a symphony orchestra. It's the whole thing, soup to nuts. And then what the challenge is remembering it.
I was going to say, do you ever get that point where, like, 2 hours later, you're like, motherfucker, I had it,
Yeah,
I
pretty
knew
much.
it, I can't think of it.
Luckily,
Could be a triangle, could be an oboe, I have no idea.
Yeah, luckily, once stuff starts to flow and you start getting it down, then for me, almost invariably, you get to a point where the piece writes itself. It kind of feels like you're channeling it.
Yeah.
And it then, if you're not careful, then the piece starts demanding things of you, and you're into a whole bunch of instruments you either can't find, can't obtain,
kill.
need to create. Yeah, the dog is talking to you. It's an interesting process that can take over you if you don't kind of control it.
Yeah. Now, I know everyone has kind of their own taste, their own flair. Is there a specific instrument that you are like, I will never write a piccolo part or an oboe? Like, is there one that you're like, fuck that instrument, I'm not doing it?
There are a few instruments I don't personally like the sound of. And despite the fact that I play harmonica, I don't like accordions.
Okay.
Another, similar reed instrument,
Yeah.
and I don't like the sound of accordions. And I don't generally like clarinets. I like the bass clarinet.
Don't cry, fish. It's okay.
I love the bass clarinet,
Yeah.
but the upper register clarinets I don't typically care for.
Okay.
There are some really great exceptions, in classical and jazz world, where I do kind of dig it, but they are the exception rather than the rule.
Right.
Anything else is fair game.
Is there like one that you like? What's your favorite instrument? And like, is there one that you're like, I really want to figure out a way to put some obscure instrument into something you haven't worked out yet?
That not so much obscure. I've got a piece going. It's an extended big band, so it's this giant requiem. It's going to run about 40 minutes, and it's got a full chorus. It's got a full big band, and then it's got taiko drums.
What's a taiko drum?
The big.
Oh,
the guys with the waistbands.
Yeah.
And the 2 full sets of timpani, piccolo. Stuff you don't normally get. I think there's probably going to end up being a French horn, and I'm at the point where it's starting to dictate things to me. I will probably actually also use a throat singer.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Where do you find a throat singer?
Craigslist?
Craigslist?
I was learning. I was trying to learn.
Yeah.
And I got a little bit with it, and I need to pick it up again because there's a weird mouth positioning thing that you can do to get the overtones coming out.
So is that part of like the vocal, like a vocal aspect, but not words?
Yeah, and see, I love the voice as an instrument. Voice is an amazing instrument, and I could listen to Ella Fitzgerald scatting all day.
Right.
She's just amazing. Choral stuff, particularly in a foreign language or in non-language based sounds, I can certainly do. And the requiem that I'm working on is I'm working with just sound bases right now, and what I'm probably going to do is strip in lyrics in foreign languages based on children's nursery rhymes.
So you're going to take the children's nursery rhymes and translate them?
No, they're going to be in the native language.
Oh, okay.
Just strewn over the music and probably intertwined with several different languages going at a time. It will be completely unidentifiable as
a
language by the time I'm done with it. Do the same thing with my photography, really, too. It's a photo, but you'd probably not recognize it as one.
So, since you brought it up with photography, how do they correlate together? Is there any crossover? Do you listen to certain kinds of music when you do photography, or
Nope.
No?
No, and I've dropped the photography the last couple of years. It's been the last few years have been a little bit of a transition phase for me and my family.
Yeah. Well, you moved up here to Massachusetts. We heard the story.
Yes,
last week.
Last week,
yeah.
you interviewed my wife, and so you've got kind of a lot of stuff going on, and then I'm getting older now, and there's a lot of physical issues that I'm learning to contend with, and kind of trying to understand my new normal. Mm-hmm. And so something had to go. And so the photography has kind of taken a back seat, and I'm focusing. I did launch a music-related business right before we moved up here.
That's always a good time to launch a business and be like, hey, doors are open. See you later.
Just done. It's wedding-based, and we had just done 2 wedding shows in Connecticut. And then all of a sudden, Anna's like, oh, I got a job in Massachusetts. Oh, okay, we'll be moving now.
Yeah, but then you went us. Totally worth it.
It's so totally worth it. And good beer.
Yeah. There's plenty of great beer.
Our hosting folks here.
Yes. So what is this wedding music business? So you're a wedding DJ?
No.
So you play YMCA and
you can't see this at home, but I'm doing the YMCA thing
and the chicken dance and
yep.
God, I hate weddings.
No, it's a non-performance based service, and it's geared towards people who are hiring musicians, live musicians, or have somebody like Uncle Phil wants to play at the wedding.
Okay.
And you want to do something special, and so I will create a piece in consultation with you to your specs, basically. And the piece is going to be your piece, and I'll work with you throughout the entire thing. And at the very end, I sign over the rights to you, so that will never be played at another wedding unless you want it to be. So
basically, you compose a song, and when the couple says, this is our song,
it literally is.
Mean it copyright-wise.
Yep. It literally is their song. And
I feel like with the kind of extravagance that people go through for weddings, that would definitely be a thing.
I'm hoping so.
Yeah.
Yeah, people seem to spend an amazing amount of money on weddings.
I feel like I spent a lot on mine, and it wasn't even. It was good. Like, no question. Didn't last, but the wedding was a blast. Anna
and I did pretty well. Anna's British, and so we had the
she is
government.
She didn't tell us.
You
that.
Didn't know? Oh wow! You know, I thought her fashion sense was a giveaway. Forget the accent.
Yeah.
So the American government immigration process is a little bit screwy, and they give you all of 3 months to plan a wedding, which includes,
3 months to plan
maybe people having to come from another country to get visas.
That's insane.
That's 3 months right there, right? And so, so she was told that she was coming to America finally after 18 months of process.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it was like, okay, you're cleared to go. And you have 3 months from the day you hit soil to get married, to plan and execute a wedding.
That's insane.
Try and get a venue.
Right, yeah.
Right? I mean,
I can't even imagine.
So we ended up in the...
Be like, well, the Chuck E. Cheese is free on Thursday.
We ended up in the Webster House.
The Webster House, why do I know that?
In West Hartford, Connecticut.
Okay. That sounds really familiar, like I should know it.
Yeah, it's the author of the First American Dictionary.
Oh,
which was perfect for the debate we constantly have going over which of us actually speaks English.
We do. She talks funny.
Yeah, exactly. And so it worked out well, but we managed to keep it really low key and fun. We had a sea shanty band.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
They were very cool. Hung out. I think they were playing in a parking lot when we left after everything was closed. Yeah, they didn't want to go, which was really cool.
Yeah.
And her family was able to make it over, which was nice. Thankfully, England, there's not really the visa, delay that you do get with some of the Eastern countries, where 3 months is, child's play when it comes to looking for a visa.
President decides not to let them in for no apparent reason.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, who knows? That could still happen.
Yeah. So you've gone to school for music.
I did.
You compose music. Do you work in the music industry?
I do not. I got out of music school.
Okay.
And that was graduate school. And so I there wasn't much in the way of jazz grad schools.
Yeah.
In the
so is jazz
late
predominantly
80s.
the what you gravitate towards?
I gravitate towards whatever kind of hits me. At the moment, it is contemporary chamber music.
Okay.
Really small chamber groups. Mostly, I don't like to say atonal because I don't write totally atonal music. I have the belief that human beings categorize things. That's how you process and move through the world, is by categorizing. And if you've got absolutely nothing to latch onto in a piece of music, you've got no place to go to.
Right.
And it, to me, sounds like just a random mess, which, it is fine if you dig random messes. But without an organizational structure, even the free jazz dudes from the 60s had an organizational base that they worked around that you could hear in the music. Mm-hmm. And so I tend to flux in and out of tonality and in and out of rhythmic bases. So, it might go from like 19/8 to 4/4 to 5/8 to 2/4 back to 4/4 to...
I feel like reading your sheet music would be a fucking nightmare for me.
I brouut some. It's not the more weird stuff.
First of all, I haven't read sheet music since high school, and I was never very good at it. So
I won't force it on you.
All right, please don't, because I'll just... I think if I looked at... So... My son is a junior in high school now. Back in junior high, he decided to pick up an instrument. And he's like, Dad, I'm going to play saxophone. I'm like, I played saxophone.
Cool.
He's like, you can teach me. I'm like, no, I can't. I haven't played saxophone in like 15, 20 years. And it amazes me. I mean, I used to play clarinet, saxophone, bass clarinet, guitar. And when I look at it now, I feel like I'd be starting from scratch. Like, I don't know why, but it's just all gone. Like, all that information is gone.
Have you tried picking it up and see what happens?
I thought about, like, getting a guitar and just playing, because, frankly, out of those instruments, guitar's the cheapest one.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
You can find a pretty inexpensive guitar. Like, I think saxophone and bass clarinet were my favorite to play. I really love playing... in jazz band.
Saxophone is such a sexy instrument.
Yeah,
it's just
like, and you can learn like a scale and just like jump around on the scale, and people are like, wow, that's really good. You're like, I'm playing like 8 notes in random order, and it was a lot of fun. It's just like I'd be hard pressed to find I wouldn't even I'd be on Amazon typing saxophone, trying to buy one, and be like, I don't like. I remember back in the day having a reed preference, and
yes.
I'm like, now I'm like, I don't even know.
It's all changed since then, probably. Yeah. Anyway, every 2 or 3 years, it looks like the technology turns over, and even in stuff is like guitar picks.
Yep.
There's carbon fiber and all sorts of other weird stuff, and
and it's just like I've thought about like maybe trying it again. It's just time wise already. I don't have time to draw. That's kind of my thing.
Yeah.
I went to art school. And I'm like, well, I can choose art or music, and I went with art, and now I don't have time for either one. Which is weird running an art group.
This little thing here keeps you quite busy.
Yeah. I ran into someone, and I think it was Jim Roselle, and he was out with his mother, and I ran into them, and his mother's, he's like, oh, this is Andy, he runs Inebri-art, and he's an artist, and I'm like, well, basically all I do is run Inebri-art now. I guess that's what happens when you're the most organized artist. I'm not the best artist, but I'm the most organized.
Oh, yeah.
And like sometimes it's herding cats, and like I feel like that has become my niche. Is like I'm the artist with the calendar, and can be like, all right, everyone be here at this time, and that's how Inebri-art got like where it is.
Did Anna tell you how we met, or where we met specifically?
No, we heard a lot. I don't think so. Let's talk about that.
We met at the New Britain Artist Co-op in Connecticut.
I did know that.
The herding cat thing.
Okay.
Just because at the point in time, I stepped in and filled a power vacuum and was the president, and attempting to get any of these people together to do anything for more than 5 minutes before somebody wandered off or just had their own thing that happened. It's incredible.
Or been like, I'll be there, and then like you text them and be like, hey, you're supposed to be there. I'll be there in an hour. You're supposed to be here 30 minutes ago.
Yeah. So a lot of credit to you for doing this. I sucked at it.
Yeah, and well, we talked about this a little bit prior to the podcast, but now with the current legislations that have been passed and the legalization of marijuana, I feel like it's harder now because I feel like artists are a little more spacey now, a little less motivated. Like, I am all for it, do whatever you want, but hey, man, let's set a date and make that happen.
I don't know. I think they've always been that way.
Yeah, I feel like it's exacerbated a little bit.
Maybe.
Or maybe I'm just trying to schedule more now.
Everybody I know hasn't changed their behavior in the last several years. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, that's true. I feel like they haven't changed their behavior. They're just more like open about it.
Quite possibly.
Yeah. But it's probably just because we're doing so much more now.
And more exposure is going to be more people you're relying on to be in a space at a time doing something functional that you've agreed on.
Yeah.
And then not happening.
Right. Or them showing up and not being functional.
Yeah, the not functional thing being key there.
So where Anna is a visual artist and you're a musician, musician's very like heavy math. Do you feel like you kind of, I mean, you're both creative people, but is there like that kind of, you're more, I don't want to say rigid, but more analytical, and she's more
We definitely have different styles.
Yeah.
We definitely have different styles. And
well, she's British.
She's British.
But we don't hold that against her.
No. And my thing, the whole reason I went to California for grad school is I'm wound real tight. I know that.
Yeah.
And I needed to chill out and learn to go, dude, which I never learned to do right.
Yeah.
I sound like an idiot doing that, whereas the people who are raised out there don't sound that bad.
Yeah.
It seems just normal for them. And so we have different approaches to things and definite perceptual differences around things. And she notices a different set of things than I do. I definitely am more sort of the math side.
Yeah.
Is definitely mine. Whereas not so much with Anna.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
What's her? I'm going to totally put him on the spot. What's her strong suit? What is
she's an amazing artist.
What does she bring to the relationship table?
The relationship table
that you don't.
I don't.
That you don't.
Oh, flexibility.
Yeah.
In a lot of things. Yeah. She's much more
roll with the punches and.
Yes, actually, that's a really good descriptor. Rolling with the punches, specifically life's punches.
Yeah.
For us.
And you're more like me, being like, you said you're going to be here at 2.
Yeah, it's 2:01.
It's 2:01. Where the fuck are you?
Door's locked. You're out of here. You're fired.
I'm more like, it's 1:57. Where are you?
I'm trying to loosen up. It's 2:01.
I said 1:57. I said 1:57. It wasn't like 1:50.
No, she has definitely a much looser approach, which is a much healthier approach to pretty much everything in life.
Yeah.
Like I said,
it brings less stress and
I'm wound tight, and that's the killer is right there, and it plays out in just about every aspect, from work to music to just general health, and what's happening with me health wise is probably a result of a lot of years of internalized stress.
Yeah.
And you had asked about what I do for a living that's not music. And so I got out of grad school. Grad school lasted an entire semester because at the time there really was
made it a whole semester? Congratulations,
yeah, I did. There were no jazz programs other than jazz criticism. And I mean, literally, what do you do? Wait for the one jazz editor at the New York Times to die?
Right.
Right. What do you do with that degree? So I kind of wanted to teach, but I only wanted to teach people who wanted to be there. And my first composition lesson involved me being told that they didn't get the improvisational aspect of things. Could I stop doing it? And I said, you do realize my undergraduate degree is in jazz, right?
Right, yeah.
And there is also a big history of improvisatory music in the classical tradition if you look beyond, say, the 1900s.
Right.
And we sort of decided that was the beginning of the end, both of us, and it parted after a semester. And it just killed me on the concept of music. And I had never wanted to have to rely on making a living as a business in an art field, because you get to a point. I've seen enough people do this. You get to a point where you're just grinding it out and doing the same stuff over and over and over again.
I've had this conversation with so many people, and it comes up time and time again. We literally just talked about it with Matt Audette. I call it the wagon wheel. Mm-hmm. Are you familiar with the song Wagon Wheel?
No.
You lucky son of a bitch. So there's this god-awful song called Wagon Wheel that I believe was written by Hootie from Hootie and the Blowfish, who I'm sure has a real name. And it's Darius Rucker, you don't have to look that up, I really know it, I was just being a dick. Every musician in town, anytime you're at a bar, they play it. And you talk to any one of them, they're like, I fucking hate that song. Yep. But they're like, people want to hear it. And it's that when you're a creative person and your dream is to make a living at your love, but then like, where's that trade-off from giving people what they want to hear and making some money and being like, fuck you, I'm not doing it. And you know, it varies across the types of music. If you're in a general business band, you're doing the wedding thing, you've got an expected stuff, and if you hate Frank Sinatra, you're really in trouble. Yeah.
You're completely screwed. You know, if you're doing, you know, bands at a bar and you don't know the current top 40 stuff, or you just hate it, you're still playing it. Yeah. Because that's what people want to hear. In, you know, the world that I'm looking at. Is there the
classic version of Wagon Wheel? Like,
absolutely. I imagine. I'm not a performer, and that's one of the kind of weird things is I don't perceive myself as a performer. I can play a number of instruments in a mediocre fashion. Okay. I play, you know, well enough to write. I play keyboards well enough to write. I play harmonica pretty well. I used to play brass instruments very well, but I don't own any anymore. Right. And but the classical component of that is I have played the William Tell Overture 9,000 times in the last 4 years. I don't want to do it again. Right. I can't even imagine a conductor, a music director of one of the symphonies in the areas around here, unless you're at one of the really, really top end, the top 1%. Where you can probably dictate, and you can only do this for one program a year, probably in the season, right? You know, and do this avant-garde thing of something new. And maybe if you're lucky, you throw in one newly commissioned piece that doesn't sound too far outside of the norm for, you know, we're doing an impressionist night. Yeah. Or
like sometimes I remember I think it was at the Hollywood Bowl, they did music from Lost.
Music from Lost.
Which I just thought was like, it's different. Like, you can go see orchestra music and they're playing like scenes from Lost behind it, and they were playing like the music over it. And it's just like, that's different. I feel like that'd be entertaining.
That I've never heard of that.
Yeah, they've done that. They've done like,
your mic's on?
Sorry, is your mic on?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I let them talk.
There are three of us.
Like once in a while, I let them talk.
But yeah, they'll do nights where it's like, you know, video game themes or movie themes, and it's very just not what you're normally going to go out to a night at the...
One of my favorite songs to play in high school, in concert band, was we did the Simpsons theme song. And it was just that, it's not classic. Everyone knew it. Everyone loved it. It was just that, like, different thing that everyone connected with.
You completely derailed my thought process there. And
I think we're talking about what you do for a job.
I
think this is what we started on like 30 minutes ago.
Stream of consciousness thing, but no.
If we had rails, we'd be off them.
Your thought just reminded me of exactly when I discovered that I was really getting old, as I was in grad school. Yep. So, right out of college, basically, after ditching the engineering couple of years and writing those off. So 23, 24. And there was a marching band in Sacramento, California, just randomly showed up while we were in Old Sacramento, and I guess they had some sort of event they were playing at, and they were doing Green Day.
Really? Wow.
Like,
I feel like now that would be less surprising.
Green Day. Yeah, okay, I'm getting old here.
That's funny.
Because, the Shirelles was pushing it when I was in high school.
Right. So, your day job.
So the day job, I ended up...
we're going to derail this, too. It's going to end up being a fucking mystery. We're never going to get to it.
It's all of this. The day gig now is a little bit different. I ended up in the corporate world in tech.
Yeah.
Because I needed to make a living, and I knew it was dig ditches, do computers, or,
computers probably pay better.
Pays better, there are benefits.
On you.
And physically, I don't have to cook and standing on top of a pile of asphalt in the sun. So, all a win. And so I eventually kind of morphed out of that into... thanks to the tech market tanking out in California and moving back here and not being able to get a job in the tech world, I ended up taking a temp gig and have moved eventually into a consulting gig for corporations looking to give money back to nonprofits.
Oh, wow.
So
that's pretty cool.
I have one major client currently, and they have a huge matching gifts program to the tune of $4 million a year or something. So I basically...
Do they give money to small groups? They
tech,
call it Inebri-art?
the tech side of that.
Oh, nice.
And interfacing with the vendor, which is obviously a database-driven vendor.
Yeah.
And, because I speak tech babble as well as human speak, I do pretty well in that role. And it kind of morphed into a niche
That's a real
role,
talent.
Yeah.
Which, for me, where I am health-wise, I'm managing to do that part-time and make enough of a living. It's not a huge living, but it's enough of a living where, I'm better off than 99% of the rest of the world,
right?
As we all are in this country, probably.
Yeah.
And...
living off that sweet, sweet Plymouth plantation money.
Yeah. the corporate gig, the one downside is no benefits.
Yeah.
And so, getting older with some issues, that whole benefits thing comes into focus a lot more. And
I spent a while without some health benefits, and right about the time I got them, I broke my ankle. And you're just like, it's nice to have them, but I'm still boned. Like it was still the most expensive thing I've done in a long time.
Yeah. It's incredible, and I went without health insurance 7 years, I think, between when I left the corporate world and when I actually got into a position to start being able to afford insurance, because there's no way I could afford, a couple $1,000 a month premium.
Right.
On, what I was making.
That's just that's before anything happens.
Yeah. And so thankfully we have insurance now.
Well, that's excellent.
And I owe a lot of that to Obamacare at the outset.
You socialist commie pig.
Yes. Yes, socialism, the new communism. So anyway, so that's what I do, is I help companies give money back. Which is, if you're going to make money
noble.
off the corporate world,
might as well do it that way. Yeah,
is a great way to do it. It pays well, and it allows me the luxury to write stuff that nobody wants to listen to, that my wife refers to as it sounds like chewing on broken glass.
Oh, true love.
Yeah.
I'll support you in any way. Oh, that's terrible. But part of that, I feel like, is what a real, that's when you're in a real relationship, is when they're not just blowing smoke and they're like, I really don't like that.
Oh, yeah.
It's something I really appreciate when my friends are like, I don't like it.
Yeah.
And can be like, this is why I don't like it.
Yep.
That's way more valid than someone just being like, oh, it's great because you're my friend. Or fiance or spouse or whatever.
I like to put it in these terms. If you come over for dinner and I make you something and you tell me you like it, you're going to get it again the next time you're over.
Yeah.
Because I know you like it now.
Yeah.
So you better tell the truth about it, because otherwise you're completely fucked.
Oh, monkey brains?
Yeah.
My favorite.
Yeah, that would be the creamed fava beans, which I think only Hannibal Lecter likes.
Yeah. With side of fiance? Did I get that right?
I believe so, yeah.
It's been a long time since I've seen that movie. I said chilled monkey brains because I was watching...
It's got to be Raiders of the Lost...
No.
No?
It was Clue.
Clue?
Yeah. You had to have seen Clue.
What era Clue? Wasn't it remade a couple times?
No, it's only been made once. And
with Tim Curry.
Tim Curry,
right?
yeah. And Mrs. Peacock references that it's her favorite dish, and at the end he's like, "Oh, it's monkey brains," and not everybody likes monkey brains, and they're all like, "That's what we had for dinner."
I still don't remember that.
Oh, it's such a good movie, and it bombed in the theaters, but.
Did the version you have all 4 endings? Because weren't there 4 endings with it, or multiple endings?
There's multiple endings. I think it's 3. And it did. It had all of them.
So I've only seen 1.
Yeah,
I saw it in the cinema. And I think I only saw 1.
Yeah, in the cinemas, that was the whole thing. It's like you can go multiple times and see different endings. But if you get it on DVD or if you watch it now, they kind of string them together.
I'll have to grab that because I enjoyed the movie the first time around. I would like to see it.
Yeah, they string it like. This is how it could have ended, or this is how it could end, and then at the end it's like, but this is how it really ended. It's such a good, it's a real cult classic gem that I should get my kids to watch that.
Along with Rocky Horror, which you're doing.
We are doing Rocky Horror, March 30th, and Anna's already bought her ticket.
Yes.
She said you're not.
As soon as she heard that.
I believe she's like, Ray's not cool.
Probably. The 13th time was it for me. Yeah. I've seen it 13. I don't know as any performance I ever saw had the live component to it.
Oh, really? Yeah.
It had kind of, when I was watching it again, was high school, and it had done its main run, and it was off into the Weeds trailer kind of thing.
Some midnight showing.
Literally the midnight showing once a month.
Yep.
Somewhere in Connecticut that we used to drive to.
And I mean, that's how I remember it. And I did a horror convention, me and my buddy D. Snyder, just hanging out with D. Snyder. And I was there with Caitlin, who's always at our Life Drawing things. And we were drinking. And it was, kind of the after hours stuff. And I'm like, oh, let's go in here. She's like, what's in here? I'm like, Rocky Horror. And she's sitting there, and she leans over. She's like, Annie, this is amazing. And I'm like, you've never been to this? And she's like, I've never seen this. I'm like, this is your people. Like, how have you never seen this? And then it occurred to me, I'm like, oh, because it's never come to Plymouth.
Never come to Plymouth? As
far as I know.
Is there a movie theater, or was there ever a movie theater?
There was a movie theater here forever ago, and I found that out about 4 days ago. But I was just like, I mean, she's 20, 24, 25.
Oh, okay.
So it definitely hasn't been the last 20 years.
Yeah.
And I was just like, well, it's my responsibility to corrupt the youth. And immediately, the next day, I reached out to Carl at New World and was like, hey, I want to do this thing. It's got to be on a Saturday night.
Yeah.
No more middle of the week shit for this.
No.
And that's when it started. And it took us a long time to get a date. And people were like, it's not in October. I'm like, you can't even get these guys in October.
Yeah.
When I was trying to book a date, they're like, any date you want, not October.
Yeah, the Rocky Horror thing has taken off. I don't know if Anna mentioned this, but the New Britain, where we were living when we met, they actually had a resident theater, a professional theater, and then they would do Rocky Horror, and then at the same time, literally across the street in an old church, they would bring in a live show.
We talked about this.
Okay, so you've got two competing
Rocky Horrors. And she's like, if you go to the early show, you can hit the late show of the other one.
So it's kind of taken on a new life. So
it's
hard to book them.
It's really continually every year it adds more and more fans. I think that's what it is, and it's been going forever now. And I'm very excited to bring it to Plymouth. And
cool.
We're already selling tickets, and it's in March, so that's fucking crazy.
I think you'll probably sell out.
We'll sell out
early like January.
Yeah, probably. I think January is kind of like the sweet spot for selling out, but we don't have a lot of tickets.
Yeah.
Once they go, they go.
Get your tickets now.
Yeah. Go to
No.
Facebook
Get your tickets now.
Sunday or Saturday, but whatever. And it's we may once we kind of get set up, we may squeak in a couple extra chairs. But
who needs chairs? You
Yeah,
can stand
I
them
think
around and stack them, and everybody
it's-
do the time warp together.
it's going to be pretty crazy, and I feel like when it's going on, Carl at the New World will be like, "What the fuck are you doing back there?" And I think once the totals are in for the night, he'll be like, "When can we do that again?"
Yes. Yeah.
So
I would have loved to have been able to see it with beer. I was both underage
March 30th,
in a
dude.
theater. I think I'm past the point
Yeah.
of
Then you can just
Rocky
show
Horror
up,
at
have
this
the
point.
beer, and then just
Sort
in
of
the
peek
front.
through the door. And
you can just sit at the bar and be like, "What the
I
fuck
think-
are they doing back there?"
I think when Anna told me somebody got hit with a dead fish at one of the performances, it's
Yeah.
like, there's nowhere in that film that there's a dead fish. Where on earth did that come from?
Carl at New World was like, "Are they going to be throwing things?" And I'm like, "Well, he's like, you know what? Don't tell me." He's like, "I don't want to know anything. Don't tell me." And I'm like, "We'll help clean up." He's like, "Don't tell me." I'm like, "All right." So that's kind of where we left it.
Yeah. Oh, complete non sequitur here. Look what I got.
That is pretty. Hey, I know those socks.
You do.
So our previous sponsor was Sock Panda. You have a
Yeah.
very pink vibe going on.
I'm a color junkie.
Yeah.
And one of the things that pisses me off about our culture is that men aren't allowed to wear color, particularly in the corporate world,
Yeah.
where I function most of the time. So I have this garish array of ties. And this is kind of a fuchsia, magenta,
The scarf
pink
thing?
scarf
Yeah.
thing, which I love. And pink cell phone case.
Nice.
I like pinks and purples.
Yeah. So for our listeners, he was wearing pink flamingo socks that he got from one of our events.
Sock Panda.
Sock Panda. Go to thesockpanda.com or sockpanda.com. I'm not ready to do an ad, but I believe you can still use the Inebri-art code and get 10% off your order. So check them out. We love them. They've sponsored us a few times.
I'm also going to. I'm planning.
Are
on
they
wearing
comfortable,
these.
Ray?
They are comfortable. They are performing very well. This is the first wear of them in these shoes. And
Nice.
they're ventilating nicely.
And the pink flamingo ones went really fast. Actually, the only one that went faster that blew my mind was the vegetable socks.
That's just inconceivable to me.
I was literally opening the box. I'm like, fuck, vegetable socks? Really? Who wants vegetable socks? And
Vegans.
they were gone. Like,
Like-
everyone's like, oh, vegetable socks?
Like, I think we had one pair left after the first live
I think-
drawing.
yeah.
and,
That's amazing.
yeah, it was crazy.
Like, it was the first pair picked up after the second one. I'm like,
yeah,
okay.
like I work with a vegan, and I work in a very small marketing department. I'm like, listen, if there's extra socks, I'll make sure you guys get a pair. That's the whole point, is to pass them out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, we got vegetable socks. She's like, really? And then I had to come in and be like, I have these ice cream socks. Ice cream's not vegan. And I'm like, I know, but the vegetable socks went for some reason.
This is the food sock convention.
Yeah, it was very weird. But,
So I am planning on. I'm going to wear these. I think with the modeling.
oh, yeah,
thing,
so you're going
too.
to model for
Yeah,
us.
they-
Oh,
which
yeah,
is-
we should bring that up.
Yeah, yeah.
How I think this whole
it's
thing
going to be the first
came
Monday
together.
in January.
Which is what,
Don't ask me the date.
I think it's 7th.
That sounds rightish.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I will,
7th. So
I could possibly be inebriated because that is my birthday.
Oh, sweet.
No,
well,
no,
not the 7th.
January.
It's my
January's your birthday.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
January.
Basically, there is a decent chance Andy's going to be drunk from like the 29th.
It is the
through
plan.
Wow.
Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
Okay. Just like college.
Yeah. Yeah. So Ray's going to model
Oh,
for
so-
us in early January, the 7th. And this is going to be... So you came to me, and you're like, hey, I want to model. And I'm like, you're modeling? You're like, no, but I've written this piece of music that I want to model to.
Well, so what this came out as is I've done a little bit of modeling in the past. When I actually subbed for Anna a couple times back in Connecticut
Yep.
at our local art league, and those were 3-hour poses where they would tape.
We would be so
tape
drunk,
the
Ray.
floor. And I don't have that attention span,
Yeah.
and my music actually sounds that way. I don't have that attention span. So, but I've been doing the life drawing things. For me, it's a creativity exercise to utilize a different part of my brain. I'm
Right.
an atrocious artist. I just really, if you
But
look at
it's-
the
it's-
drawings, but that's not what it's about.
Exactly.
And so what I did was I went and said, okay, you needed male models,
Mm-hmm.
and So I went, okay, so what could I do with this? I'll turn it into a performance piece. And so I kind of hatched this idea and fleshed it out. I wanted to kind of be sure that I could physically do it because I haven't done anything static like this in a while. And so what I've done is I've utilized all of my music, and the entire evening is structured around telling a story around the music. And I'm not going to reveal more than that.
And we're calling it opening night, right?
It's called opening night.
Yep.
And that's all I want to
That's
reveal.
fine. Yeah.
It's and what this is it's going to take and intersperse static poses, and the poses are timed by the music. So they're roughly equivalent to what you normally do for drawing. And I specifically picked the music that way, as well as to flow from piece to piece. And it's basically like you're constructing an album. An old school vinyl album with two
like
sides.
A concept album?
2 sides, or actually 3 sides, because there's the 2 breaks. So we structured it that way. And
in my head, I'm trying to picture a record with 3 sides.
I had one.
Get out, really?
I had one. They didn't record a 4th side to a double album. I had these
so it was
2 slabs of vinyl,
right.
And one of them was just blank. I forget what it was.
That's cool.
It's like, okay, somebody ran out of funds. Somebody's father ran out of funds back in the 70s. So that's kind of the goal, and it's stretching my boundaries a bit, which I attempt to do every once in a while.
I think that's a really healthy thing to do, because you learn what you like.
Yeah,
you don't know what you like until you try it.
Yeah, this
like
one
broccoli.
is going to be the least clothing I've had on in public in a long time, and the decrepit middle-aged person who's doing this,
so
I'm attempting to be comfortable with.
Yeah, so the interesting thing was, like, the one time I modeled was the model messaged me, I think, like 2 hours ahead of time, was like, my brother just passed away. And I'm like, fuck. Yeah, do whatever you have to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it literally became like, I showed up and Fish is like, why's your t-shirt tucked in? I'm like, because I'm modeling. And he's like, what now? And so we had such a huge response of people being like, oh, I can't believe I missed this, that I'm like, son of a bitch, I'm going to have to do this again.
Yes, you are.
Just from that corporate mindset.
Yeah. So what did we say? Late February?
I think we're going to do the Wednesday in
So
February.
you are doing it again?
Yep,
Yeah.
the
Excellent.
Wednesday in February.
Excellent.
But then it's like, what do I wear? Like, you see, we have these like godlike people on stage
do
with
we
like
talk to,
no
like-
shirt and like, beautiful women in lingerie, and I'm like,
Please don't do that.
fuck, what am I gonna do?
I think the cross-dressing thing would be perfect.
Look, I mean,
Well, you want me to wear lingerie?
Big feather boa.
Yeah.
and we know we can talk to Jenny. She can.
I feel like she
can
has
hook you
things.
up.
Yeah,
She'll probably
Glam
get stuff
rock
your
boots.
size.
maybe. I don't know.
You could do big glam rock
we'll have
boots.
to, we'll have to
and
figure something out.
Big sparkly eyelashes.
I'll do like an Elton John thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Man, it's gonna suck. I'm gonna miss one.
this is my whole plan. I've missed 2. I got to make you miss one. But it is about time to wrap up. Do you have anywhere online that you can direct people to check out your music or your whatnot?
Yeah. Actually, you can link to the SoundCloud stuff through www.raysoctopus.com. That's RAYSOCT.
That's a super
OPUS.
OPUS.
Thank you.
If you can't spell octopus,
Brain's not functioning
if you
at this
can't spell
point in the night.
octopus, autocorrect will.
Yes, if you can't, autocorrect will, and that will get you where you need to go in terms of both the visual, the photography side, and the music side.
What about the wedding music thing?
Weddingcomposer.com, theweddingcomposer.com, and those will both work.
Okay.
Weddingcomposer.com, and if you're interested, definitely shoot me a note, and we will chat.
Nice. And if you would like to draw Ray along with his music, the first Monday in January 7th at 7 p.m. at the New World Tavern, we'll be there. It's an $8 covered charge. You bring whatever you want to draw in. We're going to try. We don't have a January sponsor yet, so I can't tell you what kind of freebies we're going to be giving away, but
Free stuff.
we've been pretty good. We haven't missed a month, I think, all year.
You do really well with sponsors.
We really try.
You do.
We really try.
And the sponsors are really good.
Yeah, our sponsors are great. They're such nice people. We've been very lucky. So we're pretty much running out of time. Ray, this was
Thank you for having me.
This was a lot of fun.
Been awesome.
Yeah, we'll bring you on again at some point, like after, I don't know.
After my embarrassing
After your embarrassing stint on
Yes,
stage,
there we go.
and maybe you can compose some sort of thing that we can talk about. But yeah, this was
personal
really,
requiem.
I think this was really good. Maybe we can like put these like back to back, Anna and Ray. I think that'll be really interesting.
Oh, that would be freaky.
Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. But so you can listen to hers, and then she can listen to yours, and you'll be in trouble for something that you're like, I didn't really say
exactly.
that.
then it's the aftermath.
Yeah. But thanks, Ray. This was a lot of fun. And
Thank you.
Oh, maybe you can send us some music. We'll tag it on to the end.
Yep, we'll do.
Cool. Awesome. All right. Thanks for listening to our podcast. Don't forget to check out our other podcasts. There's the Bar Talk podcast. There's Old Colony Cast. And, of course, the Inebri-art podcast along with Jam Packed. You can find all those on Stitcher, iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube, pretty much anywhere podcasts are found. If you're on some sort of service and you can't find it, let us know, and we'll help you out and or add our podcast to that, too. You can contact us at Inebri-art@yahoo.com and follow us on Facebook as well as Twitter at Inebri-art. And feel free to send us some tips, ideas, advice, hate mail, whatever it is, you can get us there. And again, thanks for listening.